soil, and we have to learn from those cultures so that we can teach our patients to eat those same kinds of foods. So I would say to my adult patient that food is the foundation of health, and it is so important to eat a good diet for your health. Thank you.
All right, Travis, you're on.
So, of course, the phrase "you are what you eat" is probably something everyone in here, can resonate with and echoes in your mind. You've heard that since you were a child. And of course, that's literally true, right? I mean, everything that goes into your mouth is going to be converted in some capacity and become part of your body. And I think there's a lot of evidence and a lot of material out there about the constituents of food and about the importance of vitamins. And frankly, that's a story that a lot of adults have heard, and it's a lot of a story that they've heard on their way through the drive-thru at Taco Bell, all right? And so I think that it's important to reframe the story a little bit, to get to other questions about food as the foundation of health. It's not just the food itself, but the way that we eat it, the people we're eating with, the type of social interactions that we have around eating. Stepping away from your evening Jeopardy with your bowl of whatever you're shoving in your face, as I have done while trying to study at the same time, right? And trying to say, maybe we should sit at the table, maybe we should sit with significant people who are around us and begin the conversation about food in a place that adults in particular can resonate with friends, with family, with loved ones. And it's in that space that we can then begin to sort of remind people about the nutrients that are important in food, eating whole grains, making good choices about the sourcing for your food. Because as many of us know who care about these things, it's a stressful world out there when you're trying to decide what it is that you're going to eat. Pulling up a can or a box or a bag or even something fresh and saying, is this good for me right now? Should I be eating this? That can cause a whole host of anxiety and neuroses that people have to push through. So let's start at the dinner table, and then let's move forward to what's in the food that we're eating. Thank you.
Anna, you're up.
Okay, so one of my roles as a dental hygienist is to be an investigator. So I look for possible causes for a patient's decreased oral health. And food is often caught as one of those culprits. So luckily I have the opportunity to be one of the first people that's able to see those signs in the mouth. For many people, food is habitual. We eat what we know, maybe not always what's best for our oral or systemic health. So oftentimes nutritional counseling is one of the things that we do in the dental environment. It serves as kind of a check-in for a patient, an adult patient. I would strongly encourage all of you as an adult patient to start tracking your food for any given amount of time, and that gives you a good glimpse into your overall eating habits. And I work with my patients to make changes to what they eat and also how they eat. You kind of mentioned that a little bit as well. I think that's really important. And simple dietary changes can result in oral health improvements that transfer over to general health. An example of a common change that I see in the dental setting is lowering of blood sugar. And that simple change that a patient can see lowers their risk automatically for periodontitis and other systemic conditions, like high cholesterol, high blood pressure. I've seen and personally experienced the negative and positive effects that can come from simple dietary changes, and although gradual, I think the patient that places an emphasis on good choices, good eating habits, will be able to see and feel a real difference in their overall wellness.
Thank you, Anna. Kyle.
Okay. So a lot of wonderful things have been said, and it's interesting is that when we talk to our patients and as we discuss with them, it's changing our habits is extremely hard, particularly food, because as we look around us, we continue to see the same advertisements that come and come again, and it's hard to get that out of our line of sight. And so with that, how do we change our habits? How do we become a better person? How do we implement as food to help us prolong and keep a better life? And rather than making these drastic changes, sometimes by adding in simple things, such as adding in more fiber into our diet, that we can see big changes. Something as simple as walking for 30 minutes a day, they've seen increased risk or increased cardiovascular systems improvement, decrease in heart disease, and same thing with when we add in nutrition into our diets, that we see a lot of great things that can come from that. And so I truly believe that like small and simple things, great things come to pass. And so as we continue to add in those tiny differences, I had an opportunity to study and learn a little bit more about chia seed during the video presentation that I was able to make. And the thing that I learned is that such a small thing like chia seeds can make such an impactful difference in our lives. And so in order to keep ourselves growing and perpetuating and becoming a more healthy individuals, what we need to do is add in small things that will make a bigger difference, like adding in more fiber, and we need to add in more nutrients through proper whole foods, and getting more nutrients through vegetables and fruits. So, yeah.
And Colin.
First of all, thanks for having me, and it's nice to meet everybody. I'm looking forward to speaking further after the panel discussion. As a dentist, I have one unique approach to overall systemic health. I certainly don't know everything about it, and I'm not a nutritionist, but I do work in kind of the canary in the coal mine, as it is. The oral cavity can indicate a lot of systemic diseases. And one thing that we really deal with a lot, and Anna does as well, is periodontitis, gum disease. That is inflammation. And one of the biggest problems that we have with our overall healthcare system today is we don't really recognize the fact that chronic inflammation is one of the biggest underlying causes and risk factors of all of the biggest problems that we have in our healthcare system, like heart attacks, strokes, COPD, everything associated with that. So when I'm talking with an adult patient, I use periodontitis as a way of talking about inflammation and a way as a vehicle to help them realize that the things that they eat really affect their overall health. I recognize that everybody has a different body. People over in Japan probably have a very different genetic makeup and certainly a very different biome in their gut. So nobody should profess to think that there's any one right way to have everybody eat. But there are certainly better things for us. And I'm really curious to see where our research goes to try and decipher the links between what we're eating and what our systemic diseases are.
Thank you. Okay, so that was from speaking to an adult patient. Imagine we are all 7-year-old patients, all of us. Now convince us how food serves as a foundation to health. To a 7-year-old. A lot of 7-year-olds. Okay, so we'll start with Travis this time.
So if we're going to pretend that everyone's a 7-year-old, let's just talk directly to that. You are what you eat, right? It's probably the seed that I'm going to plant so that I can talk to this child as an adult. One of the things that I think is really important about kids is that they are small, rational humans, right? They're not a second class, they're not an other. They can learn things, and it's our roles as teachers and as medical practitioners and to help their parents to talk to kids about what food is. And I think if I were talking to a 7-year-old directly, I would say, hey, you know what we need to do with our dinner plates and the choices that we make? We need to look at colors. Everybody knows their colors. Let's talk about oranges and greens. Let's talk about purples and blues. Let's find things that when I'm making a plate in the evening, I want as many colors on there as I can have. Because of course many of us know that the colors represent a lot of those phytonutrients that are in there. A diversity of color on the plate is by default going to give you a diversity of nutrients in the food that you're eating. And it's an easy way to get to a kid, right? Let's talk about colors. Let's make a rainbow. You could even give parents strategies where we're talking about certain color combinations. You might even have particularly artistic people want to talk about making palettes and colors and painting things with their food. It's not to suggest that it has to be a finger painting game at the dinner table. That might drive some parents a little crazy. But I think when talking to kids, reminding ourselves that we're educating future adults, right? That we're educating people and teaching them at a core level about what their relationship is to food. And beginning with something like colors and moving on to something like textures. A lot of kids don't like things that are mushy or soft or maybe even have a slimy mouthfeel. Make it a game. Let's see which of these different things you can taste, which things you've never tasted before. And putting things in their wheelhouse in a way that they can process is, I think, a key element to really getting kids to embrace the diversity of foods. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Anna, I'm a 7-year-old. Go.
All right. So why do you think we need to eat? Well, we need to eat to grow, to learn, and to play. Good foods help us stay strong, and the bad foods can make us sick. Have you ever heard of a sugar bug? And do you know where they come from? Well, sugar bugs are so tiny that you'll never be able to see them, but they come from many of those bad foods. When you have too many living in your mouth, they can even eat parts of your teeth. They can also travel